guys, thank you very much for coming back to my studio. I like to share with you in this video how to draw the Antillia buildings. As Antillia is at this present time is the world's most expensive private home. It belongs to one of the world's richest men, and it is one of the richest men in India, Ambani, Mr. Ambani, and it has a one vertical private home in Mumbai. I'm going to draw it in a perspective without the vanishing point using the geometry lines. I hope you watch it to the end. Thank you very much. Right, before I start drawing this Antilia house, the best way to do it is to understand the geometry of these buildings. From based on the photograph that I've seen, it's very simple, and I understand how it was done and why it was done as such. Suppose this building is just one block, it's gonna be looking boring, one mass vertical. The first thing I understand is that. The second thing is how many stories on this building. I'm not drawing the one below that, just the top of this massive blocks. So how it was done, I understand it has 20 stories on this block, and it has been break into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blocks. Other looks different, but reality they're quite simple. When you look at this zigzag shape, that's what makes them look so different. But the reality is, this block is 3 stories. This is I put them into section, mark them to A, which is identical to this one here. 3 stories, and identical to this one too, but slightly I'm doing the opposite. So there are 3 A blocks here, which 3 stories, 1, 2, 3. The second is the B. The B block has 5 stories, only 1. And C is this one, 1 story, and C plus 1 story. The difference is it stretch further. The C plus stretch further, which is that, which give the overhang roof or overhang floor or cantilever, if you like, it's cantilever. The D one is below, which has 4 stories in there. You see how simple it is, was organized geometrically. Instead of 1 block, again, it's a 1 mass there, 2 main blocks, 3, 4, 5, and a divide in the center, 1 story. So now we understand how this building works in terms of in the elevations. Let's draw. Hi everyone, thank you very much for coming back to my studio. In this video I'd like to share with you the simple way to draw the Antillia. Antillia is considered the richest, the most expensive private house in the world at this present time. Based in Mumbai, home to the world, one of the world richest men, one of the richest men in India. I started with the vertical lines and create a horizontal line in between to find the middle of this vertical structure. Based on my understanding, based on my observation, based on the pictures, there are 20 stories on this particular part. This is just one part, not the block below. So I only draw this, the obvious one. Since I know there are 20 stories on this particular part, I divide into half. So it will be 10 stories on each side. To start with, I'm going to do the cross line to find the center, to divide that into 5 stories. So the next one is to define divide into 5 stories on right at the top of that floor. This will be the starting point to divide them into each story in term of scale. Because this drawing without the using a scale ruler, more into perspective without the vanishing point. So see, now I divide into 5 floors there on the top floor as this. Then use that rough size as the reference to continue with the rest of the floor below it, like this. Right, now I have 10 stories. Again, using the rough measurement based on what I initiated, repeat the same one for below. Need to be careful with that line, it's a bit messy there. And it continues to the one on the lower floor. So now I have 20 stories there. I mark it, the numbers, just so before you get lost in multi-layers. So this is the geometry that we need to understand. I'm going to add another line there to make it more square footprint. So this is the geometry we understand this Antilia. They get the it looks contemporary, futuristic, not symmetrical, but in reality, one understand this building in terms of proportions. In terms of how it was organized is quite easy. The top floor is 3 stories. The 3 stories at the top, 5-story below the 5-story block, 3-story blocks, and in between this you get 1 story. 3 at the top, 1 story, 5, and 1 story in the middle. Another 3 stories, and the 4th below. And in terms of skin, the fabric is as though it was a zigzag there. It's really straightforward. The best way to draw is to understand how this geometry was organized for this building. It is the accentuate the skin of this building, in and out, and this is the 3 stories blocks. Another 3-story blocks here. The skin wrapped up, just like this. And here is the 4 stories. Bearing in mind, I haven't been to this site, but this is based on the observation on the pictures. So this is the best way to draw this Antilia building without being there. And by understanding the geometry of these buildings, it makes it so much easier to draw it. At the same time, to understand the structure of this building, simply by understanding of the geometry. So the next one is to put more line on the skin of this building to make it much thicker. Once I understand the organization of this building in terms of blocks, the next minute is to add this division, the skin and the flooring. It's as though the skin, the walling, and the flooring are the same the same thing, the way it was designed. I can see the difference is that on the top blocks are 3 stories, and below there is a 1 stories, and the 1 stories repeat below in the middle, but it has the cantilever stretch above the vertical out of that square footprint, which is overhang basically. Now adding more of these skins on the walling, just like this. The next one is to draw the inner layer in between those flooring. Add more detail in the cladding, crossing line to find the center point, then line the vertical line in between them, and repeat the same below. The continuation, I don't need to do the crossing the line there anymore, just continue from what is already there above. Now cross the line again to add more lines in between, to divide them again, to make it much more dense, trying to imitate the actual building. Right, the next one, I'm done with the skin of this building. The next one I'm going to draw the what between the floor and the skin of this. Use the glass wall paneling, glass walling, and a bit of the structure. There, the column. There's another 3 stories, and in this one will be the 5-story blocks in here. On this 5-story block, I believe there are 18 of the glass walling, the cladding. So to achieve that, I'm going to divide them in small pieces. Again, the same method, using the crossing to find the center point. So to do that, I'm going to make them like divide into 3 first. Then that 3 divide into 6 each 3 section to achieve this 18 wall paneling, glass walling, just like that. And I'm also adding, instead of just the 1 line, horizontal line, there are also 2 layers aligned with each other to accentuate the flooring of this. That is obvious. And more details. I don't need to add the cross line to find the center now, since I have started first at these 5-story blocks. So simply stretch those lines from below to above to continue those lines, the indication of the glass walling, and similar to the one below, simply stretching those lines below. At this stage, just fine line for now, but of course again I'm going to add the flooring lines, 2 layers, to indicate the thickness of this flooring. On these 3 blocks, it has balcony, so the walling isn't continuous to the end. It's a bit of a gap laid back with to give the bit of a balcony, which is also below the cantilever above this overhang one story floor above that. So this Antilia looks complex, but by understanding of the geometry of this building, it's pretty easy to draw in terms of formation and organization of it. It's pretty straightforward. And here is the I'm going to draw the this W shape of the structure would support and connected with the floor, the lower floor blocks, just like this. The way to do is simply using the cross line, the geometry. How this building was designed, using geometry lines. Just like this. At this stage, again, is about adding as much information lines as possible. And next step is to add a bit of a shading to bring this drawing much more clear as it get lost into these multi-layers of line. Start with the hatch first, just to accentuate that floor above and how the walling and flooring as much is extruded beyond the glass walling below. Again, the same. This is again the same one story, but as it is in the middle of these blocks, it's overhang with a cantilever. Again, the same method. I'm hatching it with the first vertical lines. It continues to the back. And of course, continues with that lines. Going to be much darker at the back on this side. Assume the light coming from the left and much darker on the right. And of course, I'm going to add multi layers of this hatch line to make it much darker. And again, get rid of horizontal line there just to make it to differentiate it between this the skins and the walling. And the next, of course, the same hatch what below there on this 3 stories blocks at the bottom, at the lower floor, using the same method, just hatching that first, starting with the darker part of it first to make it easier. And of course hatch again below there. And of course I need to put another second layer of this hatch. And again, below here, just by doing this, to make it the flooring, the overhang flooring obvious, make it overhang above the those glass walling. From my understanding, based on the observation on the pictures, the floor above here is set back, so it isn't continuous to the end. And below this cantilever in the middle, again the floor, the stories below here are also set back, leaving the column to support this cantilever from below and obvious and visible. And of course the same material, the same shape, the same structure. I think the idea behind this design is, instead of one vertical, one mass of a structure, vertical structure, the designer decided to curve this mass into, as though it's so many different parts, and compile them, assemble them on top of each other by creating such geometry blocks. But again, of course, by understanding the geometry of this building, as though without any of this shape, that like C, D, repeat, like a snake in a square shapes. It just basically is a one form of a vertical, one mass building, really. The designers purposely create such shape to make it, to move away from this rather boring one vertical, one mass block of the building. So on this floor, the 3 stories is the same with above it and the top, but simply rotating it, put it the opposite direction. The opaque walling. I need to do the one above as well. need to indicate the line, the overhang roof there, the flat roof, because as I said, the view from below, the overhang ceiling is visible. Again, I need to hatch that to make it dark because the light is from above. The sky is clear, by contrast, it's gonna be dark. Another setback glass walling there. Now that the hatch, I'm going to add more hatch overlap on top of it, on that. There. But I think this hatch, it also make it easy to differentiate between exposed and enclosed, and also the in and out, between the in and out of the flooring, walling, and also the habitable space in between this flooring and walling. Next one is the block below. What I understand is the blocks below isn't the wall glass walling, is much more solid structure. At the same time, it has this W shape of these columns. And again, as the views from above, the floor is visible, like the ceiling above the top floor. I'm gonna shed this also. On the sides, as I said back, there will be shadow of the floor on the surface of this wall. So it should be, I need to hatch this to make it much darker, to accentuate that in and out. And I need to hatch these two to give a bit of a texture of this wall. Right, the next one I'm going to hatch this side, the side of these walls. This the wall paneling. These are much more of the opaque material, not glass. It's supposed to stop the more of a louvre, more kind of light shade, really, sunlight shade, solar shade, I would say, and much darker on this side. I'm going to hatch this because the light, as I said from the beginning, is the light. Assume the light from the left and the shadow on the right. But by hatching this, I want to make sure this vertical line on the detail of this wall paneling are still visible. Before continue, I need to add this paneling detail, which is there. And to start with, simply based on the observation, the line is between the floor and in between the floor. How to understand it. As simple as this vertical line, then add more detail there how it is. And I'm going to add the cross hatch to make it much darker. So suppose it's, as it is the shadow on the right, the light from the left. As this is. And I need to add more layer again, this hatch, to make it much darker. Another layer in there as well, cross hatch. Now that I hatch the glass walling, I need to add the vertical hatch there just to give a bit of balance, so rather than just blank white. The same with the one on this floor. So yeah, this is the Antilia, my version of Antilia drawing, in perspective without the vanishing point, simply using geometry, and geometry is the simple way. And by understanding of the geometry of this building, I understand how this building was formed and organized. Thank you for watching, and I hope it worthwhile sharing. Do consider subscribe and like. Thank you.